to, if you need to, go ahead and let yourself, I heard, go ahead and let yourself sit cross-legged if you'd like, or sit up on blocks or blankets if that's better for you. And take your time here, close your eyes, so you just really easily start to allow yourself to come to be with your breath and adjust upward through the crown of your head so that it's really easy to feel all that space. Enables you to breathe easier too. Actually, see if you can bring your hands behind you and let your right hand encircle your left wrist. Real gently. I mean, you know, if it doesn't go all the way around, just gently bend your elbows a little bit so you don't feel like you're stressing anything, which really opens your chest very naturally if you sit up nice and tall. See if you can bring your awareness to your breath, feeling the breath coming into your belly, into your ribs, maybe all the way up into your chest. And see if you can imagine the breath coming equally in through both sides of your nose and out through both sides of your nose equally. Release our arms, let our hands come on out beside us here now, lightly touching the floor with our fingertips. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And take a nice inhale here. And on the exhale, twist to your left, bring yourself around and easily find that twist in the middle of the spine. And on your next inhale, lengthen up. And on your exhale, come on back around into the other direction. Now, once you stay here for a couple of breaths, then start to think of moving with your breath, with your twist. So your inhale, you're in your twist, you lengthen up. And your exhales will always just bring you around to the other side. So it doesn't matter, you know, what the length of your breaths are. Just let yourself feel those exhales carrying you around to the other side every time. And lengthen up on your inhales. And the next time you exhale, come on back around to the front, so you're back at center, and then flex your feet a little bit, press down into the feet as you come a little forward. Now, how far you come into forward bend, it is totally up to you. You can keep your hands on your knees there, on the floor. You can walk further out. It just really depends on how your back feels, so be mindful. If you need to stretch your legs out instead of being cross-legged, by all means do that. And see if you can release any tension you might feel in your neck, your jaw. Good, one more breath. And then we're going to slowly walk ourselves on back up. And we're going to switch the cross of our legs, so stretch your legs out for a second, and before you do, move through your feet and your ankles a little bit before you bring your other leg in front. And then when you're ready, coming on into the other leg in front, and let yourself again flex your feet, feel the outside edges of the feet pressing down, unless you're long leg, then your heels are on the floor. And then come on forward again. So ease your way into that seated forward bend. And take your time. Remember, when you are cross-legged, it's usually that front hip that gets the most when you come into a forward bend. So just enjoy kind of equalizing out here. Nice, easy breaths. If you like to turn your head a little bit, move it around a little bit, by all means do. And now come up enough. We're going to walk over towards our left thigh. So come out over your left thigh for a second and stay with your hand supporting you a little bit. Draw your right sitting bone back. And we're going to open to a side stretch. So your left hand might want to come back a little bit to support you as you open out now into a nice long side stretch through the right side of the body. And then bend your right elbow, put your right hand behind your head. And when you exhale, turn to look at the floor, let your elbow reach down a little bit. And then as you inhale, open back into that side stretch. And then one more time, exhaling, looking down. Don't pull on your head or anything, just let your hand rest gently. And then as you inhale, the elbow comes back up. And this time the arm's gonna lengthen long again. And then we're gonna turn to face our thigh again and walk back through center. And walk over to the other side. So you're out over first, hands on the floor to give you support. Draw your left sitting bone back a little bit so you feel a little more in your side waist. And then again, that right hand can go a little farther back for you to open into that side stretch on your left side now, letting yourself reach into that left side. Breathing, opening up through the ribs. Let your elbow bend, let the hand just rest gently behind your head there. And when you exhale, just turn the elbow down. Again, don't pull on your head or anything, just let the elbow come down. And then when you inhale, open it back upwards so that you open again into side. And then one more time, exhaling, letting yourself just let the elbow roll down. And then when you inhale, come on back up with the elbow. And then we'll reach again into that long arm. And then we'll turn again towards our thigh and walk back into center. Take a breath here at center if you can. Let yourself be easy and mindful of releasing only as far forward as feels good for you. And then we'll walk ourselves on back up. And let our hands come on out onto the floor beside us. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And then unfold your arms and let your feet come on out to be in front of you on the floor. And we'll play a little bit, just with a little boat pose, not a full boat pose, but just wake up the belly a little bit. So shift back and let yourself point your feet. So the toes are touching the floor here. And there you are, your chest is coming forward. You're already using your belly. If you want to lift your legs up so that the lower legs are parallel to the floor, you can. But keep holding on to your legs. Whether you clasp your hands or hold separately, see if you can feel the weight of your legs into your hands a little bit there. Feel the belly and the low back and the hips working. One more breath. And then bring our feet down. Separate your feet wider and bring your hands behind you. And now just let your knees come from one side to the other. So you're just easily letting yourself move through. And take your time, however long you want to stay on one side, do it. If it feels good to stay and just release a little deeper into the front of that hip there that's on top, you can. Good. And then we'll finish off and bring our legs on back. Stretch them out for a second. We're coming around towards our hands and knees. So take your time to come on around. Make sure when you do that you grab what you need. Like if you want a blanket for underneath your hands or your knees, get it. And if you don't want to be on your hands at all, don't be here, right? And take your time, stretch your right leg back behind you for a second. Just press into the heel gently to wake up the back of that leg. And then just switch. Same thing on the left side. Just letting yourself open up. Feel your calf stretching out a little bit. Good. And then we'll come on back to move through our spines. So let yourself move through your cat-cow now. And take your time. Whether you decide to do the traditional breaths, exhaling when you draw into that cat pose, inhaling when you move your way through to cow, or maybe you want to do the opposite breath. That's fine. There's really no right or wrong. Just take your time, let it feel good, and Enjoy that suppleness of the spine. Good. And then complete whatever one you're on or that you're heading into. And come on back to your more neutral spine. And we're going to send the right foot back again behind us, curl the toes under, press into the heel, zip up your belly, and then lift that right leg up parallel to the floor. See if you can reach your left arm forward so you come into that balance. And once you feel pretty good about that, let the right leg go to the right a little bit, the left arm to the left a little bit, and then bring them back into line with the shoulder and the hip. And then lower your hand and your knee back down. We're going to go the left leg back, curl the toes under for a second, and then float that leg up parallel to the floor, reaching the right arm forward if you can. If you can't do the arm, don't worry about it. Now, if you can let your left leg go a little to the left, your right arm a little to the right, that kind of diagonal line, and then come back to bringing the leg behind you, the arm in front. And then bring the hand on back down. We're going to shift back towards pose of a child. Let yourself release as far apart as you want your knees, as far back as you want your hips. Let your arms soften if you can, so it's a very relaxed child's pose. Breathing into your low back. Letting go there. One more breath. Good. And then we're going to make our way on up and step our left foot forward and our right foot back for coming into lunge. But let's leave our back knee down this first time. So let's shift forward. Let yourself, if you need to put a blanket underneath your right knee, do. But just let yourself open up through the front of that right hip, just shifting your way forward with your hips. And, you know, these blocks, you can be any height you want. If you're like, oh, can't go that deep, it's too soon, just take your time, let it feel good. And then we'll bring that left knee back so we can just switch and step the right foot forward and then shift so that, again, if that knee bothers you, grab a blanket. That you're just pressing into the top of your left toes and you're opening up through the front of that left hip. Good. And then we are going to switch again, and this time we'll bring the back knee up. So this time, once you get that foot forward, let yourself lift up that right knee. Take your time, adjust whatever height you want to be, and then take your time to find your lunge here. Feel your whole body in your lunge. Engage your belly, reach into that inner right heel so you really feel the length of that right leg. And we're going to switch legs again. This time right foot comes forward, left leg back. Find that alignment now of that front knee. One more breath. And we will step forward from here and come into standing forward bend, feet hips distance apart and parallel. And you know, use blocks if you want, and let yourself be mindful of how your back feels. And see if you can walk a little bit. Now, when you do this walk, see if you can lift both your heels up so you're on the balls of your feet. And then as you lower one heel down, that leg is straight and the other heel is still up, but you come up again onto the balls of the feet before you release the other heel. So it's like you get this motion of coming through with both heels up, and then you descend with one heel, and so you get to really work through your feet slowly. And sometimes just having blocks helps because you can get a little more weight forward when you do these, but that's up to you. Good. And then finish off. Let your heels come on back down. Let your knees bend just a little bit. Come on into your Uttanasana, where you like to be, right? Supported if you need, elbows above your knees, hands on the blocks, or going ahead and releasing, letting your crown of your head release down towards the floor. Be with your breaths. Be aware of your feet though. Remember, think about those four corners of your feet into the ground. So you're not rolling out to the outside or the insides of your feet. And then we'll let our hands come on up to our hips, bend our knees, rise up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's bend our knees. Come into a little mini chair. Like really, you're not low at all. You're just barely shifting your hips back. You feel your quads. And then inhale your way back up into your mountain pose. Take a breath here. And then as you exhale again, shift back to a little kind of baby chair. Just a little high chair. And then press into your feet and rise up again. And we're going to do it again. If you can go a little bit lower, go for it. If you want to go a little lower in your chair, let yourself go lower. And then press into your feet and rise up. We're going to do it one more time. So maybe go as low down as you think you want to go in your chair pose. Take your time, feel those thighs, feel the feet even in the floor. Reach back through your tailbone and your sitting bones. And then press into your feet, rise on up, come on into your mountain pose. Feeling the feet equal, sway around a little bit if you need to, kind of wiggle. If you need to, if it feels good to just wiggle around a little bit in your pelvis, your hips, your shoulders. Just be at ease, really, in finding your mountain pose. So it feels so natural, so effortless. It's almost like the air is really holding you up. You can feel your head floating up there, but it's just at that right place where it does feel like it's floating. There's no pressure into the spine. Pelvis is aligned. And as we unfold our arms on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bend our knees. Come on into that standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back. Wherever you want your hands to go. Your shins, your thighs, your blocks, the floor. And we'll step our right foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhaling into your down dog. So, come into that dog and take your time. Kind of get your feet where you think you're the most comfortable. Walk a little bit if that helps. And then think about your hands. Glance at your hands for a second. Make sure you're pretty even in your hands. So you don't have one hand farther forward than the other. Your pointer fingers are pretty parallel to each other. Elbows are hugging inward. Reaching back equally through your sitting bones. Feel your feet pressing away from each other like you're trying to widen your mat. And let your next inhale carry you out to your plank. Nice and strong plank. Lift your right foot up for a second. And then put it down, and then lift your left foot up for a second. And then put it down. Stay here in your plank for another breath. Now, to lower down, you can put your knees first, or you can go through a full, lowering down with the knees up still. And let's come on into a little cobra. Float your hands up off the floor, too. So you're really using your back, and your hands are just kind of easily there. Wiggle your fingers around a little bit even. And then lower your head. Keep your hands by your chest and bend your knees. Flex your feet. Pull your heels in towards your buttocks a little bit. Feel your quads. Let it feel good. And then go back to long legs. And the next inhale will come up again into cobra. This time you can use your hands. And if you want to continue up higher, go for it. If not, don't do it. Elbows hugging in towards the ribs. So make sure you're not locking your elbows out. And we're going to come into down dog from whether you go down to the floor or right from your cobra, that's up to you. Making your way back into downward facing dog pose, however you choose. And we'll bring the right foot forward to find lunge. Getting that left knee down if you need to get there. And we'll come on back into standing forward bend now with our feet hips distance apart and parallel. And again, whatever support you need, but going right to your breath. Enjoy your torso coming forward, the backs of the legs just starting to get more and more open every time you come into a forward bend. Full, deep, even breaths. Let your throat relax. Even your teeth. Imagine your teeth are relaxing. And then we'll bring our hands on up to our hips and bend our knees, rising on up to standing and inhaling our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, letting our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms and interlace our fingers behind us. And don't clasp your palms. Let just your fingers be interlaced here. And send the hands down a little bit so you feel even more space between your ears and your shoulders. But make sure your pelvis is aligned. Make sure it's really tempting to tuck up under with your tailbone. So feel the tailbone dropping down back towards behind your heels a little bit. And as you exhale, come on forward with a nice long flat back. So lengthen out. Reach back through your tailbone. Get parallel to the floor with your body if you can. And then see if you can stay here for a breath with your knees slightly bent, pressing gently down into your feet. Good. One more breath. And now if you want to go further, you can fold forward, go right ahead. If not, stay with that flat back. If you can bring your arms off your back, do. If it feels uncomfortable in your shoulders to do that, don't even think of it. And just breathe here for a couple of breaths wherever you are. And then we'll release our arms on down. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long back. And we'll step the left foot back to come into lunge here. And inhale. Exhale into our downward facing dog pose. So again, spreading those fingers. Find your dog here if you need to walk around, walk a little bit in your dog, or wag your tail around a little bit, or or even bend your elbows and hug them towards each other, looking at your hands if you feel a little not quite right there. So take your time. Good, and we're going to come on out to that plank again. Now see if you can bring your right knee in towards your chest a little bit. You're not going to round, you're going to keep your back long. And then put your foot back long and down on the floor. And we'll do the same thing with the left knee, coming in. And then let it come out. Now bring the right knee in again, and then think about bringing it to the outside of your right arm a little. Maybe not all the way there, but think about it. And then bring it down again, and we're going to do the left leg knee in and towards the outside of your arm. And then come back. We're going to lower down from here, thankfully, all the way down to the mat. And let's come on to our forearms. Let your palms face up for a second. In your Sphinx pose, palms are rotated to face up, but your hands are relaxed, right? So don't try to squeeze, press your hands down. Let your fingers naturally curl. Let your hands release there. Good. Bend your right knee, flex your right foot. Feel your quad there. And then lengthen that leg back down, and we'll do the left one. Just flex your foot. Feel the heel drawing in towards your buttocks. And then we'll come on back down with that leg lock. Now let's go about halfway down to the floor, and then slide our hands back by our chest. Hug your elbows in. If that's enough of a cobra for you, stay there. If you feel again like you want to press up into a higher cobra, by all means do. Elbows hug in, shoulders away from your ears. Good. And we are going to come into pose of a child from here. Bringing the big toes together, knees separate as much as you want. Once you get there, if you can bend your elbows and put your hands up on your upper back, kind of in towards the back of your upper back or neck, really. Just be mindful. Let it feel good. Breathe into your low back. Really let yourself feel the breath coming in to expand the low back. Good. One more breath. And then extend your arms back long. We're going to come on up to all fours and all the way back into downward facing dog pose. And we'll bring our left foot forward to come into lunge from here. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Right to breath. Easily, deeply breathing in and out. Feeling that expansion. If you're familiar with Ujjayi breathing, you like to feel the breath gently coming through your throat. You may, anytime in class, come into Ujjayi breaths. Anytime that feels comfortable, as long as it doesn't feel like it builds tension for you. You want to let it be a release. We're gonna go ahead and bend our knees, let our arms be like wings as we inhale, and let the arms come all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And we're gonna bring our left arm on top of our right, give ourselves a little eagle or half eagle wrap. So if you don't wanna do a full eagle wrap, don't do it. If you'd rather stay hugging, stay hugging. And then let your knees bend, shift back with your hips to a little chair pose here. And it depends on you. If you want to go lower, go lower. If you feel fine to be up higher in your chair, do. So make sure your knees are coming out over the center of the feet, in which everybody looks real well aligned. And then we'll rise on up from there. We're going to unwind our arms, stretch them out into a T position, and then bring the other arm on top. So again, you may feel happier to hug. You may feel happier to slide to that half wrap, back of the left hand to the outside of the right elbow. Or you might want to do your full wrap here. And then as you sit back into that chair, take your time. Let yourself feel again, the knees coming out over the center of the feet. Open between the shoulder blades on the back. Press into the feet, rise straight back up again. And we'll release our arms on down beside us. We're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, come on forward into standing forward bend. We'll move with our breath now. Inhale into a long back. Exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into downward facing dog. Let your inhale bring you to your plank. Your exhale will lower you down. And you'll inhale into your cobra of choice. Exhale back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend your knees, rising, floating to the top. And let your exhale bring you forward again. Inhale into that long back. Exhale, left foot back into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into down dog. Let your inhale carry you to plank. Let your exhale lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. Exhaling back into downward facing dog pose. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge, and inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend your knees, rise all the way to the top, and on your exhale, you'll come forward again. Inhale, find that long back. We're going to come into down dog however you want to get there. Walk, you can jump. When you get there, do what you need to. Walk through to the tops of the feet a little bit if that feels good. Wag your tail around. Actually, come into your dog and see if you can let yourself, once you're in your full dog, feel your navel making little circles, right? And they're little. So you're trying to like feel the navel coming into these circles. And you know, they may be so small you can't even see, barely see your shirt moving, or they might be bigger and your hips kind of move a little bit too. That's fine. And just reverse. Take your time feeling those muscles there, the oblique abdominals. You're really using your belly muscles, right? And then finish off back in full dog. We're going to bring our left foot forward, and we're coming up for warrior two, and have your blocks handy here. I have to tell you guys, it's been here sounding like thunder while they're tearing up that street over there, so it gets pretty loud. So really line up that front heel. Let yourself be easy about that. And then bring your arms on up. Turn your palms up for a second. Let your elbows really soften down. So you're looking at your left palm, right? And kind of let your hands feel pretty relaxed, but of course your fingers are there and they're kind of spread a little bit. And then get really, really at ease in your legs as you press your feet away from each other. Feel that core body. Feel the left heel just float a tiny bit up off the floor. Press your feet gently away from each other. And then heel will come back down, turn the palms down, and we're going to reach out through our fingertips. Feeling that reaching back through the right fingertips and forward through the left. Coming into our warrior two, that strength and power of our warrior two. Good. Let's put our right hand on down to our hips. Straighten our left knee out. We're going to come into triangle with our left hand coming down. You know me, I love to use a block, but you may use anything you want. Your leg, the floor, thighs are engaging up, let your right shoulder roll up. See if you can then, just for a second, with your hand on your hip, look up just a little bit towards the ceiling. See how that feels. Don't do it if it hurts your neck, obviously. And then turn down to look at your left foot there on the floor. Make sure you're not rolling on it. Now with your head down, see about rising your right arm up for your triangle arm, straight up from your shoulder. And then start to turn your gaze to look forward again. That's up to you if you want to bring your gaze up towards your hand up there or not. So just be mindful, feel the thighs lifting up towards the hips. Be okay for your neck. One more breath. We're going to bend the left knee, come on back into Warrior Two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And let's bring our hands behind us, interlace our fingers, and turn to where your right shoulder now comes around a little bit, because we're going to bow forward. And you may want to stay up pretty high so that you're not down low over your leg at all. You've got your hands behind you, you're bowing your head. Or you may want to fold all the way over your inner thigh. And some of you might want to release your arms off your back, and that is totally up to you, wherever you want to be. And then when you're ready, lower your hands on down. We're going to come into lunge, releasing that right heel directly behind our foot. And your twist of choice is here for you. So you can do twisted prayer if you want to bring your right elbow over to that left knee, or you can put your left hand on your low back, or stretch your left arm up. Be supported there with your right hand on the block of the floor. So take your time, find your twist that feels good for you. Good, and then we'll release to come on back down. We're going to lower that back knee down to the floor for a second and shift our hips back and come into a little bit of a release for the hamstring of that left leg. So, if you know you don't like bending this right supporting knee very much, then stay forward and go forward over your leg that way, right? Instead of hips shifting back and coming that way forward. So it kind of depends on you and your knee, how you want to do this one, right? I like to use the blocks, but you can have your hands on the floor, obviously. Let that back of that leg open up. Feel the left heel drawing gently back towards you, so you're engaged in that leg. Good. One more breath. We're going to shift forward. We're going to lift the back knee up, come into lunge, and we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog, walk a little bit. And then you can come on out for vinyasas or kriyas if you so choose. You know you don't have to. You can come out to plank, back to dog. You can come out to plank, move through for a back bend if you choose, or you can put your knees down and rest, right? So be mindful. Find what works for you. Do it. Get this time for yourself, really, to move or not move in a way that you choose, right? And if you were doing something that was two-sided, make sure you do the second side of it. And we will meet back in down dog. And we'll bring our right foot forward this time, coming up for that Warrior Two. So again, line up those heels at first. Get yourself in the length of stance where you feel really comfortable. Kind of feel that knee sliding out so that it comes out over the center of your foot. And then as the arms float up and you let yourself turn your palms up, elbows really melt down, right? They're really bent. Feels good. You can just easily look at your right palm there. Feels really good to feel your feet in the floor. Now, if you can lift the right heel a little bit and imagine you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet. Coming into releasing the heel down, we will turn the palms down too and reach out through the fingertips. Softening the tops of the shoulders. Feeling the feet gently pressing away from each other. Letting your fingertips reach equally away from the midline. Good. And then letting our left hand just come on down to our hip. We're going to straighten our right leg out and bring that right hand down. And again, you can use a block for your hand in front of or behind that right foot, right? Or you can use your hand on your leg. So here, hand on the hip still. See if you can turn to look forward, but then see if you can turn to look up at the ceiling a little bit easily when the hand's still down. See what that feels like. And then let yourself turn back forward and to look down at your foot, which is for most of us, often really releasing for your neck. Make sure you're not rolling on that foot. Now while you're still looking at your foot down there, let the left arm float up, straight up from your shoulder. Feel your thighs lifting up towards the hips. And then you can start to move your head to turn to look forward. And again, I mean, if you think about turning to look up, sometimes pressing that left hand a little bit forward enables you to be able to turn to look up even more comfortably for your neck, but not always. Do what feels good. One more breath. Good. And now we're going to turn to look at our foot, bend our front knee, rise on back into Warrior Two, pressing the feet away from each other as we come. And we're going to let our hands come down and clasp them behind us. And turn your left shoulder a little more forward. And again, you might just want to bow your head and let your shoulders roll a little bit. Or you might want to go farther and farther down towards your leg, over your inner thigh. And you might want to release your arms off your back. Again, that is totally up to you and your shoulders, and you know what? Just let yourself be where you can. And then we'll release our arms on down, and we're going to come into lunge. You might want blocks. Release that heel directly behind you. It is your twist of choice here. You can keep your left hand grounded, right hand on up to your low back. You can stretch the arm up, or you can bring your left elbow across to your right knee. So finding the twist that feels really good for you, but keeping that length through the back inner heel and out through the top of your head. Good. And then we'll release to come down. And again, we're going to lower that back knee down and shift back. So as you shift back and you straighten into that front leg, you might have to kind of adjust your hips a little bit, adjust how you have your hands. And then feel the right heel on the floor and draw it back so it's drawing back towards your sitting bone. And there is the back of your leg being totally engaged as you're stretching. Let it feel good. One more breath. Good. And then we'll release to come back forward so we can lift the back knee up for lunge. And we'll make our way back again into our downward facing dog pose. So this time, get your feet a little closer together. Let your right leg come up in the air behind you. Bend the knee and let the hip open. So you can think of stacking your right hip on top of your left. You can look under your right arm too if you want to. And you can pull that heel in towards your buttocks if that feels good. You can point the foot. You can flex it. And then go ahead, turn the knee back down, put the foot on the floor again so we can switch. Left leg comes up, knee bends, and then think of stacking that left hip on top of the right. You can look under your left arm if you want. Again, if you like pulling your heel in towards your buttocks, you'll get your quad going a little more. If you like to point your foot, point your foot. If you like to flex your foot, flex your foot. And then we'll come on back down with the foot. And if you want to do a vinyasa or kriya, now's the time, coming through for a plank, into an up dog, coming through chaturanga or not, right? Just have some fun, whatever fun feels like today for you. Every day is a new day. And we're going to finish off. We're going to meet back in down dog. We're going to bring our left foot forward. And we're coming up for Warrior One this time. So, get your stance going here. Bring your shoulders around square to the front of your mat. Let that back heel kind of play with it a little bit. You know, sometimes we get into habits and we don't even realize that maybe we don't have the best turnout for this back foot going. So get yourself where you feel okay here in the front of your right hip. And then let your arms hang down for a second. Shake your hands out a little bit. Wiggle your fingers around. Good, and then let's bring our hands to meet in front of our hearts. And let's inhale the hands up and keep them together. Only go as high as your shoulders let you. And when you exhale, let them come right back down to be in front of your chest. So you're inhaling your hands up very easily, feeling that core strength of the body. And on the exhale, you let them come back down. This time we're going to inhale the hands up. Now whether you keep them together for your Warrior One here, clasping your hands, sending your pointer finger up to you. You can separate your hands, you know that. Elbows can hug in. If you like that lift at the base of the shoulder blades, you can feel the belly engaging and feel that lift right at the base of the shoulder blades. No compression in the low back. Feeling that wonderful uplift through the front of the body. And then we'll bring our gaze back forward if it was up. We're going to release our arms on out beside us. Bring our hands behind us. Now you can hold your hands, you can hold your forearms or your elbows, or do reverse namaste hands if you like doing that. Straighten that front leg out, right? Here we are, coming into pyramid pose. If you need to adjust the back foot, do. And then ease your way forward. Feel your thighs lifting up towards your hips. Take your time as you come forward. You know, if you get to where you really need to put your hands down, do it. Don't wait for me to tell you. If you like having your hands back for a little bit, do. And then when you are ready to lower your hands down to the blocks of the floor, just be mindful. If you're fine to fold and keep bowing over that front leg, by all means do. If not, stay up with that long back. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips. Good. And from here, come up a little bit. We're going to walk around into a wide-legged forward bend. So our hands are either on our blocks or the floor. Adjust your feet. And then once you get adjusted with your feet, keep walking towards your right foot. Once you get towards your right foot, either in front of it or over to the outside of your ankle, let your right hand come to your right hip. You can roll your shoulder up if that feels good, up towards the ceiling. And then we'll come on back down. We're going to walk back through center, and we're going to go to the left. Again, you can stay out in front of your foot. You can be on blocks. You can walk to hold on to the outside of your ankle or your foot. Left hand on up to the left hip. And if it feels good to roll, to look up a little with your gaze and the shoulder rolling up, do it. Don't do it if it bothers you. You know that. Good. And then we'll come on back into center. Walk your hands way, way, way out like you're doing a down dog, but knees are bent here. And then as you let your chest melt down towards the ground, it's like you're really opening your heart towards the floor. Feel your shoulders, your upper back. And then come on out like you're going towards a plank. You don't have to go all the way. You can go just a little ways. Let yourself, if you need to walk your hands out to do that, do it. You can do a little push-up if you want. And then when you're ready, walk on back. Let yourself come on back. Set yourself up to be with your breath here. So by all means, blocks can be like the most wonderful experience ever in this pose. If you like to use blocks for your forearms, for your head, for your hands, if you need to be up higher, do. But just get to a place where you can enjoy being with your breath. Just letting yourself accept those full deep breaths, all the way in, all the way out. And see if at the end of your exhales, the very end, you think you've let all the air out. See if you can draw your low belly in a little bit. So just when you've let all the air out, then you just draw really deeply and low, the belly in before you receive your next inhale. So maybe you just get one last little bit out, right? Good. One more breath. And we are going to walk back out with our hands so we can go back to our left foot to come back into lunge. And we'll make our way back into down dog from here. And you know you are totally on your own. Don't do anything that doesn't feel good. You know, if you're tired, it's okay to be tired, right? You can put your knees down, you can rest, you can let yourself just stay in dog. Let yourself sweat. And we're gonna finish off and meet back in down dog. Because we're gonna go to the other side for all that one. So we're gonna bring the right foot forward. We're coming up from warrior one on the other side. So take your time. If you know you like your blocks there, get them. Get that back foot aligned where you can get that openness in the front of your left hip without feeling stress in your back knee or your ankle or your hip, right? So your shoulders are square, your hips may not be totally square, not when you're in warrior one. The pelvis is tilted kind of a little forward in warrior one. Your tailbone is reaching kind of back behind you. Let's bring our hands to our heart. Let's let ourselves feel really squared off at the shoulders. And inhale our hands up through the midline. And on the exhale, let them come right back down in front of our chest. So another 2 or 3 times. Just letting yourself move with the breath, nice and smoothly. Really feeling the breath be what is moving those arms and hands up and down. Keeping that focus. The next time your hands come up overhead, let them stay there. Clasp your hands if you can. Send your pointer finger up. If you need to separate your hands, do. Elbows hug in a little bit. If you like that lift, remember your elbows can stay bent. If it feels better for your shoulders to leave your arms a little forward, elbows bent, do. If you like to straighten your arms out, do. Finding that lift through the front of the body. Feeling that openness still in the front of that left hip. Arches of both feet lifting up. One more breath. And then we'll bring our gaze back forward. Let's release our arms on down. Straighten that front leg out. Now here's where if you need to adjust your feet, do. Bring your hands behind you. Again, you might want to hold your wrists. You might want to hold your forearms or your elbows. Thighs are going to engage upward as you come on forward into that pyramid pose. Really lifting the thighs up. Feel like you're creating space in your knees. And you know, you don't have to go far. If you want to keep your arms back and you feel like you don't want to go far, don't go far. Let your legs engage to where you can. Of course, when you're ready to put your hands down, don't hesitate to do it. And that can be any height. You want your hands. Remember too, sometimes if you like to adjust your feet a little bit when you get your hands down, do that. And again, if you like that folding over that front leg, by all means do it. If not, don't do it. And stay up with your back long, get full benefit from the pose in the backs of the legs, the hips. One more breath. Now, we're going to come up enough to walk around for that wide-legged forward bend. So if you like your blocks, bring them on with you. Let yourself walk on around, adjust your stance, and then go ahead and bend a knee at a time as you start to adjust how far apart you want your feet. If you like to turn your toes out, because that feels so wonderful to let yourself do that stretch, you can, where you shift, lifting one foot at a time or going down with your hips lower towards the ground. If you really find that release that way, don't force anything. And then when you're ready to come back into center and get your toes facing so the feet are parallel again, then set up to be again with your breath, however that feels good to you. Stack blocks. Hands between the feet, hold your own ankles if you like. And some of you might want to put your hands up and clasp them and let your arms come forward like we did when we were in Warrior Two, which is a very different feeling usually when you're in this pose. And it's a lot easier actually for most people, so just be mindful. Take your time, don't push it. Let's receive those breaths now, in and out. Good. One more full deep breath. And we are going to walk our way back again into our lunge towards our right foot. So coming on back into your lunge and make your way on back into down dog. Last ones, of course. So If you're so inclined to do any more vinyasas or kriyas, go for it. If you feel like doing something else, do that. If you don't want to do back bends, don't do back bends. If you feel like you really want to put your knees down, do. Good. We're going to meet back in down dog. And then from here, we're going to bend our knees really deeply. Let yourself think of your belly coming onto your thighs. And draw your elbows towards each other. Glance up there between your hands. And think about whether you want to jump or take big or small steps to get up to the front of your mat. Coming on in to feet hips distance apart and parallel. And then from here, we're going to bring our hands on up to our hips, bend our knees, and come on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down, but let your head float upward. So now you hopefully have a wonderful floating sensation in your head. And if you're kind of swaying around a little bit, hey, sometimes it takes a little bit of swaying to let your body kind of find its way into that alignment where you feel that balance front to back and side to side. You're equal between your feet all the way up through your legs into your hips. And you can be aware of feeling your heart beating. And then we'll go ahead and let our arms come on down beside us, shake out a little bit. And we're going to bring our mats into a wall. We have plenty of room today, so take your time. If you feel like you could either come over here, there could be three, or you can come right here by me too if you want to, Cliff. So, let's bring the short edge in, and at first, have everything with you because we're going to stay. And let yourself just bring your left hand to the wall. And we'll practice just a little bit of Panagustasana and some dancer pose, okay? But we'll start when the left hand's to the wall, just by bringing the left leg up. See if you can hold on to your right knee. And it's like you've stepped up a really high step. So you're holding on to the front of your knee or behind your thigh there, if that's better. And see if you can send your left hand up higher up the wall, and then maybe release and balance for a breath. And if it's too much, put your hand back on the wall, it's fine. We're going to open the leg out to the side now. The knee's going to come out to about that 45-degree angle. So if you want, you can balance there. Some of you may want to extend the leg out long. Some of you might want to reach down, get hold of your foot or your big toe and extend your leg out long. So if you want to practice a little bit, it doesn't have to go all the way straight. You can practice there. And then bring the foot back down, send the knee down. Now the foot's going to go behind you for a quad stretch. And if you can get a hold of the top of that right foot, do. If you can't, don't worry about it. You're still getting a quad stretch. You can balance here, left arm up overhead. You can, if you choose, bend the left knee a little bit. Let yourself come forward with your torso a little back with that foot and press the foot into your hand. Use the wall if you need it. Just make sure you're not locking that knee you're standing on. And then we'll release. Come on down. Walk around a little bit if you need to, because we're going to go the other side. So it is standing on the right foot, left knee comes up in front of you. So as it comes in front of you, you can either hold the knee, you can hold behind your thigh. It's a high step, right? Now right there, the tendency is to kind of want to maybe let yourself drop into that right hip. Lift up in the front of that right hip. And then hold the wall if you need. We're going to open the knee out to the side. And again, if you can, don't try not to, and I already just did it. I just shifted back into my hip. See if you can lift through the front. And again, you can practice balance there. You can start to reach down to get hold of your foot or your toe and think about lengthening that leg up if you want. Beautiful. And then we're gonna release the foot back down, put the knee right straight down towards the floor. If you can reach back and get hold of the top of your foot or ankle, do. Press the foot into your hand. You can hold on to the wall. You do not have to come forward in this pose. You can just stay upright, or if you want, you can push your foot into your hand, let yourself release a little forward. Good. And then when you're ready, release, let yourself come on down. Turn your back to the wall, and we're gonna make our way down and come on into the toes touching the wall for a second. Come into a brief child's pose just to let your hips release a little bit, and maybe even kind of let your chest shift a little bit side to side. So you're really getting into low back, different sides there. Good. And now just for fun, we're going to come forward onto our forearms, and we're going to come into a forearm plank with our heels at the wall. So when you lift up, you want to let yourself really press your heels into the wall here. And imagine you're trying to pull your heels away from each other. And there's your belly. It's great fun. Oh yeah. It's actually really, to me, it brings it more. I can do this with my knees down and the half plank and pull myself forward and feel that deep belly like that. But the way I can feel it in a full plank is to push my heels in the wall and press them away from each other. I just love it for about 2 seconds. And then I'm going to come down and shift onto my right forearm. Let's do some side plank, forearm planks. Side forearm planks. So your elbows under your shoulder. You got a loose fist with your right hand. If you don't want to do much, don't do much. You know, keep your hips down. Just have your knees bent a little bit. And there, if you have shoulder issues, don't push it. If you want more, of course, you can put your left foot on the floor in front of you and lift your hips up. You can stretch your left arm up, or if you want to do your full side plank, you can use the wall a little bit in this one too. And some of you might want to put your left hand behind your head, and when you exhale, roll your elbow down towards your fist. When you inhale, you come back. So if you want to do a little bit of that kind of work, you're more than welcome. And then we're going to finish off whatever we're doing, and we're going to come down and gratefully go the other side. So again, elbow under the shoulder, loose fist with your left hand. Let it go up a little bit so you have that bit of an angle at your forearm. And again, you don't have to do anything. You push down there, and that's a lot of shoulder work. If you want to do the side plank, you can put your right foot on the floor and then lift up. You can stretch your arm up. You can do your full one and press into the wall with both feet if you want. And now if you like those curls, hand behind the head, you can exhale your elbow down towards your fist and inhale it back. Don't do these if they bother you at all. And then when you're ready, let yourself release. Come onto your belly. Come away from the wall enough where you can just bend your knees and circle your feet around. Maybe do windshield wiper blades with your legs. And for me, I feel really released to separate my knees wider on the mat and bring the feet just to touch each other. Now you can do the soles of the feet together, or you can just be less far with your knees and just let them kind of prop each other up, right? If you're in the Baddha Konasana with the soles of your feet together, you can even let the feet come down more towards the ground if you want. I mean, don't push it, and you know, you'll lift up. You're not trying to keep your hip pointer bones on the floor or anything. It's not like if you took dance as a child and they came over and, you know, held onto your back and your bottom and pushed your feet down. Not exactly what you want to do. Ever. Even if you're 8, right? And then we're going to release. We're going to come on back to forearms. And now if you've got it in you and you think you want to practice a little inversion, come on back and come on up into a dolphin pose with your heels up the wall. Oh, you can play with walking one foot up or both feet up the wall. You know, just enjoy. If it doesn't feel like enjoyment, don't do it. No, if you're like, well, this is not my day to do this, don't do it.
I got one in.
Huh?
I got one
I
in.
saw that. Good. Man, that dehumidifier's not working hard enough today, is it?
You have it on?
Yes, I have it on high.
Look at me.
I have it. It was like this yesterday too, but the 2 days before it was just fine. Okay. So once you come down, and if you're still working, finish what you're doing. We're gonna sit either for a little bit of hero work, either on 1 block or 2 blocks if you need to, or a blanket, so that when you sit between your heels, you don't want to feel stress in your feet, your ankles, your knees particularly. So, and be enough away from the wall. What we're going to think about doing is opening backward a little bit. So I want you to be close enough to the wall to where when you think about releasing back, that maybe your head can very comfortably be supported on the wall. So that might take a little finagling. So if you think about here, so this spot where you're like, oh, that feels so good. I mean, I can just get myself with my head, and you know, it may not be the top of your head. Don't force anything. But let yourself just bring your hands back, like towards your feet, and just enjoy. So whether you're up higher or you're down lower, you're allowing yourself to open up through the front of the body, and you've got your support of the wall behind you. And it doesn't matter how far you are away from the wall. So be mindful, let it feel good. Remember to put the tops of your feet on the floor. There you go. Is it hurting your ankles?
Yeah. Well, not the top of my feet.
It's hurting the tops of your feet. Yeah. Don't do it. Don't do it, because that's worse. Don't do that.
Okay, I'll just go get it.
and then let yourself easily come up and bring your legs on around and stretch them on out in front of you. And, you know, massage your knees a little bit. Let yourself, if you feel like massaging your legs, or you know, you can do where you kind of press your hands, the heels of your hands from the hips all the way down, especially like if your IT bands feel like, ooh, like, oh my. You can kind of press down on the outside and then all the way to the top, really, of your thighs. If you go right to above your knees, feels good. Swim your kneecaps around. We're going to come down onto our backs on the floor. So be mindful as you do. Let yourself release down. Bring your knees on up and in towards your chest. And cross your ankles. Doesn't matter which one's on top. Your knees widen out. See if you can maybe, I mean, you can either hold your shins and just hug in with your legs coming towards you, or you can reach down and hold onto your feet if you can. So you go to the outside of your legs and then grab the tops of your feet if you're trying to do the feet. Or you can just put your hands on your shins. And just let the back go. Let your hips release. Just breathe. Feel your back releasing down into the floor. And we're going to switch the legs. So you do the other one, bring the other ankle on top, and then again, when you can let yourself just release, feel that back, you know. Now you're not worried about keeping that natural curve in your back. You're really trying to find a huge release here in your hips, in your low back. And then we're going to unwind the feet, put them on down to the floor, and bring your arms down alongside you, setting up for bridge pose. Now, if you think you're going to want a block or two in a second, I should have said it before you lay down. Maybe get them close to where you can reach when you're ready. And then if you want to bend your elbows, you can. You can keep your arms long, of course. Press into the backs of your arms. Float your hips on up. And adjust, you know, roll your shoulders under as much as you need. Maybe adjust your feet a little bit. Try the lifting of your heels if you can when you're in your bridge. Feel the back of your head gently coming into the floor. And then just, be on your own to play a little bit. If you're like, oh, I don't want to, all I want to do is be on a block, I want to support myself and relax, then do that. If you feel like you want to get a block or blocks and release down, or maybe move up and down off of a block, do. And of course, there are those of you in here who might want to come down and then bring your hands above your shoulders and press into a full upward facing bow pose. If that feels like a good idea for you, go right for it. If not, do not. Especially if it's been maybe a while. So just let yourself play. Whatever feels good for your bridge pose today, or something else. If you're like, wow, I'm so done with this, just pay attention to when you do come out of it, what your body needs. And if you're supported in your bridge and you want to stay there for a little bit longer, do. Well, now that was good. So just take your time. And start to get some lights just so that we get a little quieter atmosphere in here. So when we get ready for Shavasana, it'll feel so easy, maybe a little cooler just by being darker. We can help. If you need to let yourself, as you start getting ready for Shavasana, if you need to have some support, please, if you're in the studio, let me know. I can bring bolsters, blankets, anything that sounds good, just wave at me. You want a bolster? I was trying to figure out what you were doing.
I was dancing with my fingers. Just a little odd. No worries.
So just give yourself time. Feel the ground underneath you supporting you, and enjoy feeling that firmness of the ground so that you can feel yourself softening down into the floor. And just start to be with your own breath. Easy as that, just accepting your breaths in and out through your nose, but focusing on those breaths so that when your mind wanders off, you just have no trouble coming back to watch your breaths in and out. Whatever helps you do that, counting a word or a mantra. Just give yourself these few minutes trusting really that your body might be a little bit smarter than you are and can get what it needs from all you just did. As you let yourself completely and fully relax.
your breaths start to gradually get more and more deep, more and more full. Imagining those deeper breaths just refreshing you, starting to let you want to move again physically. Your fingers and toes might want to lead you into moving, your hands and your feet. Let your arms, your legs do what feels good. Stretch, bend. Be mindful of how you feel as you come back into physically moving again. You're more than welcome, of course, to roll onto either your right or your left side. If you're comfortable to do that, and stay in that soft fetal position for a little bit to give your body and your brain a little longer to adjust. Stay, enjoy being cradled by the ground. Appreciate gravity holding you there. And of course, when you feel ready to rise up, let it feel pretty easy to float your way up. And see if you can keep as soft feeling as you can in your muscles and your shoulders and your hips too, and let your spine kind of take over to support you once you're seated comfortably. Letting the top of your head reach up, feeling your sitting bones into the floor, or maybe if you're sitting on a blanket. Just close your eyes and let your breaths come in and go out again. Just let yourself watch the breath in and out. Feeling energy returning to the body now. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Friday.